Hey everybody, this is D Hunter bringing another action figure review. Today we're going to be looking at something a little bit older. This is a Jakks specific TNA Impact Wrestling Sting figure. This was Sting during that period where he was using sort of a Joker gimmick or imitation. He sort of snapped and went crazy in the show and was acting a fool for a while. This figure was released back in 2012. I remember The Dark Knight came out in 2008 and the Heath Ledger Joker was very popular. I feel like that's what sprung on this sort of gimmick. I feel like it was an homage to the Heath Ledger Joker. I could be wrong about that, but the makeup sure was reminiscent of that. So I'm a huge Batman action figure collector. I love getting other action figures to enhance my Batman and general action figure world, and what better figure to serve that purpose than a Jokerized Sting. Shout out to my boy Zach Jansen from Indiana. He's a huge wrestling fan and tells me about a bunch of wrestling figures I can use to enhance my collection. Some I get, some I don't. When he told me about this guy, I was shocked. How could I possibly have never heard of this guy before? I have pretty much all the different Joker and clown action figures you can imagine. I even have some Sting figures in my Joker gang. Don't know how I never came across this Joker-Sting hybrid. I do feel like for copyright purposes, both in the show and the figure, they never actually specifically said Joker. It was just some crazy sort of person image he was doing, but very obvious what it was based off of. So let's go ahead and look at the packaging here. It's pretty beat up. I got this thing on eBay, but luckily I'm going to be opening it so it doesn't bother me. At the top, Deluxe Impact Wrestling. Like I said, it's very beat up and worn. This was from near the end of Jakks specific Run Up Wrestling. And these figures had a lot more articulation than the previous ones, and they looked a lot better. Jakks, at least to me, is known for being sort of clunky and a little bit too large proportionately. They added a bunch of articulation. One thing I don't like is the little hips there. Hopefully they'll get better. So Sting from Series 8. Here's the back. It actually shows a bunch of different figures. And you know what? They don't look too bad. But Mattel got the license shortly after. So with no further ado, let's open them up. Alright, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all of his accessories laid out, and he doesn't come with any traditional accessories, and what's even worse than that for me is he can't even hold any of the accessories I had set aside for him. His right hand is a fist, and his left hand is sort of open and extended, maybe it's a grabbing hand. So I'm more of a casual wrestling fan, not a huge wrestling fan. I bought this figure to use as a Joker henchman in my action figure world. My action figure collection is predominantly Batman related. I love getting wrestling figures to enhance it, whether to use them for civilians, businessmen, thugs, mobsters, henchmen, etc. This guy definitely fits in that category, so just keep that in mind as I'm doing the review. I'm using him as a Joker henchman, not the actual Sting figure. So let's go ahead and check him out. Starting with his face here. Now that just screams Joker to me. White makeup, you can see the flesh around there, so he's not permanent white. He's got huge grin with a sloppy red paint job around it. He's got black around the eyes, just screaming Joker to me. Now this is a Jakks specific figure. He has more articulation than most of them. This was near the end of their run where they definitely made some improvements and enhancements. As we go further down, this is Sting. He has a black top here. He's got the traditional scorpion on it. He's got some kind of spandex pants with all kind of different designs on it. So he's got boots at the bottom there. Going further up, he's got some rubber knee pads that probably could be removed. Going up, he's got this ball joint here. It looks kind of awkward, but they were definitely making improvements on their articulation. He's got a traditional ab crunch. Huge arms. And just huge muscles all over this guy. He is going to be a great piece of muscle in Joker's gang. And just a closer look at this guy's face. I have looked up some YouTube clips of Sting when he was going through this sort of Joker gimmick, and I was not very impressed. Honestly, he came off as kind of stupid and not very creepy like I was expecting. But on the other hand, I am so happy they made a figure of this guy, and I have no idea how I didn't know about him, but I'm so happy to add him to my Joker gang at this point. The only accessory I can really give this guy without swapping out his hands is a chain like this. He can sort of hold it with his open hand. And if you want to have it hanging down like so, you can do that as well. Or perhaps something like this. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at the figure, now let's check out the height of this guy, and he is big. From bottom to top, he's sitting at about 7.6 inches tall, which is going to translate to a little bit over 19 centimeters. The fact that he's huge and muscular is just going to work so perfect for my uses for this guy. And now let's check out his articulation. Starting with his head here, it can rotate from side to side. Can look up and down just a little bit there. Shoulders on a ball joint. They can go up quite a bit, more than 90 degrees. Very nice there. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. It's got a bicep cut below that. It's got single jointed elbows. They can go in a full 90 degrees and maybe a little bit more. Wrist can rotate around, and it's hinged as well. He's got an ab crunch here, and it gives him a pretty nice range of motion in his torso here. Traditional waist swivel below that. His legs are on ball joints. They can go out more than the splits, which is pretty cool. Forward, about that far. Back, not very much. In addition to that, he's got a thigh swivel here, and I don't really like the way it looks. The ball looks a little awkward, but still pretty cool for a Jakks figure. Can rotate around, no problem. His knees, I thought they were single jointed. They do have this rubber knee pad on them, which does sort of slide out of the way as you use the articulation. They are double jointed and can go all the way back. His foot here looks like it has one of those McFarlane ball joints, but it does not have as many features. It can rotate at the top here. It can go up and down. And that's really about all you got going on there. I will say, for a Jakks specific wrestling figure, this guy is super articulated compared to most of them. I bought a bunch of them back in the day when those were really the only options for civilians and thugs and mobsters. And I would describe them as big, clunky, poorly articulated. But some of the later Jakks figures are much nicer proportioned, and their articulation is just so much better than the older ones. This guy is definitely in that category of the very few minority Jakks specific figures with excellent articulation. Now let's check him out compared with some other action figures, and we'll start off by checking him out with what I'm going to do with him. Here he is, next to one of the largest Joker figures that I have. This is a NECA, the Dark Knight Heath Ledger Joker. This is the 7-inch scale, but you can still see how much smaller he is than the Sting figure. And if I was just wanting to use a Sting to blend in with all my figures, that would be a problem. But if he's supposed to be this super juiced up muscle henchman in the Joker gang, this works great. But you can sort of see what I was saying. Jakks figures are a little bit bigger, and it's not just the height, but it's their overall body proportions. A little bit bigger than most of the stuff in my action figure world. And I don't know if it's just me, but every time I saw this Sting's makeup, it reminded me of the Dark Knight version of the Joker. The smile, the dark around the eyes. Like I said, maybe it's just the way I'm seeing things, but that's sure what I assume he was going for. I swear, you dyed his sort of long hair green and pushed back like that, he'd look a lot like the Joker. Here he is with a bunch of DC Direct Arkham City Joker thugs. These are official releases from the video game, except for the two large tightened up Joker thugs, but I just had to make me some of those as well. And if you look at Sting, he's pretty much the same size as Mr. Hammer, who's another really big, muscular Joker thug. So, it kind of fits in. Here he is with a bunch of Mattel Movie Master Joker thugs from the Dark Knight. A little smaller than him, but just some more figures I use in my Joker army. Here he is with several Joker thugs they've made that are unique in the 6 and 7-inch scale. Now I thought about getting 2 of these Sting figures, but to me, he's a little bit too unique. He's just a one-of-a-kind Joker henchman. Now let's check him out, compared with some other wrestling figures. Here he is, next to the only other Sting figure that I own. This is another Jakks-specific figure from a similar era. He has the same kind of articulation and does share several parts with this Joker Sting. This guy's been in my Joker gang for years. Maybe a little bit of stretch, but always worked for me. Here he is, next to a bunch of other Jakks-specific wrestling figures that I use for Joker henchmen. We've got 5 Doink the Clowns. I believe they released 3 different versions of him, and I got a couple of all 3, sort of switch up some parts, so each of them should be at least a little bit unique. Then we've got a Jeff Hardy down there. I did add his red smile a little bit, and a couple Sting figures. And here he is with some Mattel wrestling figures that I use for Joker henchmen. We've got a couple Fiends and a couple of each Doink the Clown figures. I tried to switch up Doink's hair so I could use them as army builders. And then here he is next to a bunch of custom-made Joker henchmen from various wrestling figures, some from Jakks, some from Mattel. And while we're on the subject of some custom-made Joker thugs, here he is with Harley Quinn and her gang of Harley Quinn thugs. He could work for both the Joker and Harley Quinn. Here he is next to even some more Joker henchmen. These are all some large, giant, oversized Joker thugs. Here he is with several different Jakks-specific wrestling figures. These are some figures that are older than him, less articulated, a little bit clunkier, but these are some guys I had from way back in the day when these are pretty much the only options for thugs and mobsters. And here he is next to some various Mattel wrestling figures. The two on the left are elite figures, and the two on the right are basic figures. Next, let's check him out compared with some action figure lines from different various companies, so you can see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. And there aren't too many lines you're going to be able to mix him with, as this guy's a big boy. I'll try to focus my comparisons with Joker and Clown action figures whenever applicable. Here he is next to some DST, or Diamond Select Toys. This is probably the largest action figure company that I collect figures from. Looks like I finally found somebody who can scale up with that giant John Wick figure. Then, here he is with some McFarlane toys. And here with some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. Now with some NECA figures. And here he is with some Mezco 1/12 cloth soft goods action figures. Then with some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And with some Mafex figures. Then with some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is with some SH Figure Arts action figures. So overall, I am loving the hell out of this guy. I had no idea this guy existed. I'm really happy my friend pointed this out to me, as I love to get henchmen and army build, especially for my Batman villains. So if I were to rate this figure, you'd have to look at it from two ways. As an overall action figure, you might give this guy a 6 out of 10, and that might even be pushing a little bit. He's an older build, especially compared to modern day standards. But for my action figure purposes, I'm going to give this guy a solid 7 out of 10. It's like having a whole new character in my Batman world. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add it to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.